Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So we have our next author spotlight going on right now. These are just so much fun. If I don't know if you tuned in for last week, but we had the author spotlight in the Fangirl Romance Rex, Urban Fantasy, Romantasy, and Paranormal Romance group. And today it's for the edgy contemporary romance. Why choose? And I'm just so excited. I've been talking to these ladies, these three authors that signed up to be on here, and they're just such nice ladies, and they have really awesome books. I've been trying the books out in prep for today, and just really, it's just a good group of authors, and so it's just so exciting. So we are broadcasting, just for anyone to know. We are broadcasting in the Fangirl Romance Rex After Dark group. We're broadcasting in the FanGrrrl Romance Rex Urban Fantasy group, even though this isn't the genre for that group. These are great, what I like to call palette cleansers for the urban fantasy group, right? Because those genres tend to be like vampires, werewolves. The contemporary romance group, though, is humans only. It's dark mafia, it's rock star, it's billionaire, let's see, sports romance, so they're just great too, just different genres, right? And that's why we have the two Fangirl Romance Rex groups. And then this is also being broadcast on our Instagram channel, Fangirl Romance Rex, our YouTube channel, Fangirl Romance Rex. This is getting insane, you guys. Let's see, the Facebook page. So, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited, and I'm super honored to be able to do this and give a spotlight to some authors in the group so they can tell you about their books. So what'll happen? The format will be I'm going to pull in Anne Roman first, and then Geneva Monroe, and then May Pierce. And yeah, they're going to come on here and they're going to tell you about their books, what they have available, what they're all about, and at the end, we'll probably end up pulling everybody on to have a little bit of a panel. We did that last week and it went really well because I got a lot of feedback that people just love to hear, from the authors and about things that we don't really know as readers. We don't face this stuff every single day like they do when they're publishing books. And so, like things about, reviews and, traditionally published versus Kindle Unlimited and, just all those kinds of little behind the scenes things that we don't know. So anyways, I'll just blab forever. So let me pull on our first author today, Anne Roman. I'm so excited for you guys to meet her. And here she comes. Hi,
Hi,
how are
how
you
are you?
doing? I'm
Good.
good. I'm good. So where are you right now?
I am in Georgia.
Oh,
I'm
you're
in
in
the
Georgia.
South.
Oh, and I think you're in the South, so it's hot there too,
Yes.
like it is here in Florida. So
Yeah,
I think
it's
there's a
getting
bit of
there.
a delay. Sorry, so I'm going to give a pause. I think just everyone, I think there's a delay, so we'll have to be pausing a little bit. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Anne.
Yeah. It's starting to get a little warm. Like it's still like in that stage of where Georgia's not sure if it wants to actually go full blown summer yet and like blister all of us or if it still wants to be kind of cold. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm in Georgia.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, how long have you been writing for? Like, how long have you been publishing?
Not long. I've actually been publishing, I want to say just a little over 2 years now.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so not that long compared to some, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
What made you start publishing? Like, so do you primarily write contemporary romance,
I
or
do,
do
yes,
you do?
yes, I do. I do primarily write contemporary romance. My favorite genre is actually paranormal romance. That's my
Oh,
go-to. Yes, I love and have loved forever paranormal romance. You can see my bookshelves are filled with it, but I do write
beautiful.
contemporary. Yes.
Yeah.
What started me was actually a fantasy romance author that's a good friend of mine and paranormal romance author that is a really good friend of mine. And we would talk and have discussions and chats about all sorts of topics. Um, Mostly because of my background, my degree and stuff. And so we would talk about all sorts of things, spies and government agencies and all sorts of stuff. And she said to me one day, Lauren, you should write a book on this stuff. And I was like, oh, no, I can't do that. I can't write this stuff. But it got the ball rolling. And I was getting ready to turn 40, actually. And I thought, you know what would be a great bucket list thing to do just to like say that I did it was to write a book for my 40th birthday. How awesome would that be? And then one book turned into 2 books, and then 2 books turned into 3 books. And now here I am almost 6 books later, still doing it.
That's
So
amazing. So I think I read in your bio that you typically write more fast paced, more
yeah.
action, right? And that's because
Yeah.
of your background?
I think so. Yeah. And I think it's also the way I like to read. I like to write books that I want to read. And I like to read really fast paced, like turn the page kind of books where you're like, what's going to happen
Right.
next? And
Yeah.
every chapter is kind of like almost a little bitty cliffhanger leading you up to the next thing. And so I think that just carried over from that. And that's why I like to write fast paced stuff.
I love books like that too. I love the page turn, I love to
Yeah.
start a book on a Sunday afternoon and like, not put it down.
Yeah,
Just
exactly. That's what
finish
I
it
want to be
same
able to
day.
sit down and completely absorb myself in the story and get lost in it and then look up and go, oh my gosh, it's done. Like that's what I like to
Yeah.
read. So that's what I try to write, But yeah, that's it.
So I started reading Pretty When You Lie, right?
Yeah,
I
you
think
messaged
I
me.
got that right. Yeah. Okay. I started reading and I messaged you, if you remember. I messaged you about
Yes.
it. So I started reading that a couple days ago. I downloaded the sample, and it's an MF, right? First person point of
Yes.
view.
Hmm. Yep.
It's a second chance romance. Yeah.
Yes.
And so I was reading, and so the first 3 chapters take place like I think 5 years ago, right?
Right.
And then
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
chapter
Starts off early.
4, it's present. So it's like your prologue, but it's kind of over three
Right.
chapters. And then chapter 4 started, and I was hooked on chapter 4. I was laughing so hard with the mushrooms. I was like, I thought that was so
Oh,
funny. And all the drama in chapter 4 and 5 to the point where I messaged you and I was like, is there a spinoff? Like, do you have a spinoff in the
yeah.
pipeline? Like, I love this world. And you said you hear that a lot, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, that's probably one of the messages I get the most about are the mushroom chapter, is what we call it. And then when do we get to see more of Cage? That's like they want the story completed, Cade and Juniper, the main characters, they want to see that, but then they're always like, okay, but we really want to know about Cage. So Cage is coming. If you've read it, Cage is coming, I promise. But I have to finish Cade and Juniper first.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. So, yeah, but I got to that and I was just like, oh, and I was like, is it weird if I message her? Like, is that weird? I'm just going to do it. Is there a
No,
book out
no,
there
I
with
love it.
Cage?
No, I absolutely love it when people do that. And they just, especially if they're giving me the reactions or, if they're just find something interesting or funny or get the reaction that I want them to get out of it. I love it when they do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So tell us a little bit about the book then, right? Pretty When You Lie. And then what's the plan for the series?
So it is about obviously a boy and a girl, and their families kind of have this history of like basically it's almost Romeo and Juliet in a sense where they just grew up, their families grew up enemies, hating each other, and the Cade finds out that Juniper ended up kind of betraying him and doing something that put his family at risk and ruined their dreams. And so, he's got this, anger that he harbors towards her. And in the meantime, there's a lot of dark underlying things going on with Juniper and her family where she wants to get away and needs to get away. And so she does, she leaves. And she had expected Cade to go with her and them to kind of go off together and start their life together. And then this, just totally upended her world. Um, and so because of the type of father her dad is, she knows that she can't like just go and just live her own life. She actually ends up going into hiding because of it. So that's where the first 3 chapters are kind of establishing, like you said, like Cade and Juniper in the past, and they're young and they're immature. And then fast forward 5 years, now they've grown up. Now they each have separate histories. They have a whole life that they've lived, apart from each other. And now they're going to come back together and kind of re-meet and see what happens. So that's it.
That's awesome. And so what are you planning to do in this world then? What's down the pipeline?
So I have Pretty When You Lie is the first book. I have a
Right.
novella that actually brings in different characters, but you still see all the same characters in it. So it just kind of like as a little offshoot of it. And then Pretty in the Dark is the second book, and that's really going to explore the dark history of Juniper's family in her past, as well as Cade's, and kind of how like they became enemies and what happened really. And then also their relationship, can Cade forgive her for what happened and how her father treated him and the things that he had to go through, because he went through some pretty bad stuff, because of her dad and because of her. And then also, you're going to see a lot more from Cage. Like, he plays a very prominent role in this one because of, and I can't reveal it because it's just spoilers, because of what happens at the end of Pretty When You Lie. So yeah. And then obviously, so there's going to be there will be 3 books. The second book is going to be kind of like the whole history and the backstory. And then the third book is going to be wrapping everything up.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, so like when I in chapter 4 or 5, when we first heard about Cage, and like, he owns all these like bars and clubs, and he's like the head of the crime, and he's like, and you hear, I'm like, as soon as I heard about, I was like, what?
Yeah.
like, I can't wait for that story. So I'm really excited about it. I'm super excited.
Yeah, I love Cage. I based Cage off of one of my favorite characters, which is, I love the show Peaky Blinders. And so Cage to me is like my Tommy Shelby. Like, that is who he is to me. But he's not the main story yet. Like, he will get his story,
of course,
but he's
yes,
not
of
the
course.
main one
Sorry.
yet. Like, this is all building up to who he is. Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. I just got so excited. So so you have other books too, right? Not just this world. Okay. So tell us a little bit about some of your other books.
So I have the Dangerous Entanglement series, which that is actually a spy romance based off of that conversation I had with my friend. And it's my first series. It's kind of, special to me for that reason. That is about an FBI agent who she ends up finding out that her sister is not who she thinks she is. And there's a whole history that goes on there and things that are uncovered. There's kind of like some emotional and mental trauma and abuse in that one that has been suppressed, and that gets covered, over the series. But she meets a spy who is working with her sister, and they end up working together to try and find her sister's killer. So that's the story of that. And then they go on a journey, and I go all over the world with it. They're in Georgia, and then they're over in Austria, and then they're over, like, they go all over. So yeah, that's a fun one.
No, that's cool. So, and then you talked a little bit about your background. So, you want to say anything more about your background, about the whole? I mean, I think it's really interesting when you're like, because of my background, I wrote spy books.
So I have a degree in intelligence studies. Yeah, I have a good degree in intelligence studies. So I love everything that kind of has to do with all of that, and I've studied it and researched it forever. And so I have my interest in that. My background is that I'm just a stay-at-home mom, but that was kind of where life took me. But in another world, in my fictional world, I would have like maybe been with like the CIA or NSA or something. So that's what I write about.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, and we had a couple questions on here, mainly trigger warnings. Do you have any trigger warnings on any of your books, and what are they?
Yeah, so I would say with Pretty When You Lie, there is like kind of hints of like not non-consent, but like, she is a virgin in the first one. And then like there is mental and emotional abuse, especially from the father. There's violence. And other than that, just, they're spicy. Especially Pretty When You Lie. That one is spicy.
Or was spicy fast?
Yeah, it
like
goes spicy fast. Yeah.
Fast.
The first series is a little bit more of a slow burn, the Dangerous Entanglements one. I do have to warn people that there is mention of a dog that was abused in that one, because people are always like, wait, I didn't know. I'm like, it's not on screen, it's not on page. It's just talked about.
Thank God. I don't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't do it either. I could not do it with my dogs, and that would break my heart. So, but it sets it up for just kind of how crazy one of these characters is. So, that's really
so my husband has been trying to get me to watch John Wick forever, and I kept saying no because of the first movie, and finally I said yes. It still gets me upset, man. I get so upset. So it's just like, I'm like, why did you have to do that in the movie? And the whole time they talk about it over and over and over again.
But I understand why he goes a little. I understand why. Like, I get it because of that. Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
understand why he does what he does. It's like, okay, yeah, that was the
Yeah.
final straw. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm a big dog lover. I have four. So
I
yeah.
know. Yes. Yes.
Anyways, okay. So
Love
any other
it.
news, upcoming releases, or I guess we've already kind of covered all of
Um,
that, but
well, yeah, so I was gonna have Pretty in the Dark release this month. I think we talked about this too, where I like it is
yes.
ready, it is plotted. I have well over half of it written, and I just kept sitting down to it, and another book just kept coming up and coming up, and finally it was to the point where it was
Yep.
like the characters were intermingling. I'm like, this isn't even the same genre. Like, this isn't working. So I had to like pull the trigger on basically just telling my readers, and they were so understanding, which I am so grateful for how understanding and the
Oh,
support that I got when I said, hey guys, I'm sorry, it's not going to make the deadline, and here's why. I just had to lay it out. But what I'm working on right now is actually going to be under a different pen name and a different genre altogether. So that's going to be
but
coming up hopefully this summer.
we can hear about it because we're broadcasting in the correct genre group, right?
That's true. That's true. Okay, well, I guess I'll do it. I haven't revealed my pen
Okay.
name yet. I haven't done any of
Well,
that.
don't tell your
So,
pen name, but if you want to say, well, okay,
yeah,
if you don't want to, if it's a big secret, that's fine. You could just say, I am writing this, like the
yeah.
genre.
So it's going to
Yeah.
be a Maleficent Sleeping Beauty retelling. Um, yeah, I'm really excited about it, and it's a challenge because it's going to be different than anything I've ever written before, but it's a genre. It's near and dear to my heart because that's one of my absolute favorite movie, and also one of my favorite things to read ever is fantasy romance and paranormal romance. So I'm really excited about it.
That's exciting. That's where I started. I started reading urban fantasy, actually, was the first thing I got into when I created the big group. It was a tiny group back then, it was only 15 people. And I started reading urban fantasy first, then paranormal romance next, and then romantasy next. And then I made the group all about that, and here we are today. So yeah,
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it. It's like my
Sometimes you just got
roots.
to go for it. Yeah, but it's
Yeah, but
good
now I
though
read.
because yeah, I
Right,
read
go ahead.
everything generally,
Me too.
and it's just nice to be able to see the difference. It's actually, I think, helping having writing in this new genre. It's actually, I think, going to improve on my writing in contemporary romance, because it is more challenging. There's a lot more you have to think about, a lot more stuff you have to take into consideration. Whereas when you're writing a contemporary, you can just pull in the normal everyday things that you see around your life. But in fantasy, you got to go, well, does that work? Does this make sense? You have to really sit there and think about it. So it's been a challenge, a fun challenge, and I can't wait to share it.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to hear all about it when it's ready. So,
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah.
okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to pull in Geneva, but hang around, stick around for the authors panel if you
Thank
can.
you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. I'll talk to you in a little bit.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, she's so cute. That was so, I always laugh at myself because I come on here between the authors and I talk like they can't see me, but they can see me. I don't care. Oh, that was so much fun. I have so much fun just hearing how people start writing and what they're working on. And it's just really cool to like see the person behind the book, Like, and that's why I wanted to do these. I wanted people to meet these authors, and the authors are people too. People forget that, So sorry, I'll get off my little pedestal. All right, I'm gonna pull in Geneva now. She's ready. Oh, she's smiling at me. I can see her. There she is. She's like, hello.
Hey,
Hi.
hi
I'm
everybody.
excited to meet you in person because we've been talking on like through the group for a while now, I feel
Yeah,
like.
definitely for a long time now.
Yeah, you've been
In fact,
active for
I
a long
think you might
time.
have been one of the first people I reached out to when I was debuting last year about like, I don't know how to promote, but I really want to. And you're like, okay, I got you.
Oh,
This is how you do it.
let's do it. Yeah, no, it's just and you're in both groups because you write both genres. You're
Hmm.
right, the dark and the OG. And you've also done, goodness gracious, you've done the 11-100 for both groups, haven't you?
I sure
Yes, I
have.
think so. And you are, oh my gosh, I have it in front of me. I'm going to go grab it. I'm going to go grab it. You are the Thank You, Ma'am author. Nobody knows this yet because I haven't announced that we just determined this for the dark group, the newsletter this month. And so the person that ends up winning is going to get a signed, I'm assuming it's signed, paperback of Dark Oz.
Oh
Yes?
yeah, it would definitely be
Oh,
signed.
yeah. Okay, yeah. You know, believe it or not, an author sent me a book once and it wasn't signed. It was so funny. I was like, "Oh, I sent you a book. Does it say?" I was like, "Oh, that's so
I
cool."
did that once, but it was just an accident.
And an
It was
accident.
definitely not on
I was like,
purpose.
"Oh, this is nice. It's not okay. Thank you."
Yeah, and that was like, you keep that one, raffle it off. I'll send you an extra plate to go inside it with the other one I send you.
Exactly. There you go. So, and then you're given swag, and you're doing like a
Yep.
an Oz
So
survival
it's like,
kit.
yeah,
What is it? Yeah,
so
show us. Show us what you're
okay, so
doing.
this is Dark Oz. So this is what I'm going to be putting one of these in, and then along with the survival kit comes a couple things. In the second book, which is The Witch is Dead, there's a line in here that I sort of did a lot of merch for. So where are we on swearing on here right now?
I don't know. How does I have no idea
Okay,
what the
here
book of it says
I'll
about it.
there we go, there we go, there we go. So it says
Oh, that's better. Yeah. So don't be th I can't see what because it's
it's thunder,
backwards.
it's thunder, it's thunder. And it,
The thun. Okay, I can't say it.
it
Oh
rhymes
my
with
goodness! Like
thunderstruck.
everyone's like, got it, got it. I get it. I got it. I got
So
it.
so I've got that. I've got some stickers for it, and I've got, I don't know. I'm kind of like a sticker monger, so I've got a lot of those here that I'm going to be putting in. I have little tissue packs and stress balls that look like Nick's heart. Nick is my Tin Man, so you know
Yes.
the
Yep.
heart.
Yep. Oh, she wrote it.
And
Tanasha wrote it in the chat. I don't know if I forgot to tell you guys, the authors, that there's a chat. You can see all the comments coming in on the thing. She wrote what your
yeah.
sticker said. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry. Go
Well,
ahead.
I've got the After Dark open over here on my computer so that I can see the comments that are in there. So I apologize if you're commenting on one of the other platforms and I'm not responding to you. I apologize for that. I've only got that one open right now.
It's okay.
But the
So,
inside of my books are all really pretty. I don't know when you were reading, you were probably reading on Kindle Unlimited, but
yeah,
so
okay.
like when you'll see it when you get the inside of all of my chapters have these really unique kind of,
It's
each
beautiful.
character gets their own chapter art when it
Oh,
switches POVs.
wow.
So in the Dark Oz series, there's 4 main POVs because it's why choose. So all 4 of the main characters get their own point of view.
That's
And so there's
cool.
specific art for that. And in the ebook, there's art that sort of matches that, but it's green and it's a little bit prettier, honestly, um, because it is in color. Here, sorry, I just want to show you Nick's.
Oh, yeah, no, please do. We want to
There you go.
see.
Yeah, so
That's the
there's
benefit
Nick's.
of doing it live. We can
So
see this stuff.
all the this book from cover to cover, from outside cover to the inside
Gorgeous.
art, I did all of it.
That's amazing. It's gorgeous.
um and then the inside of the Sun Serpent books, I did the art that's in there too. It's not all completely original. Some of it is stock manipulation, but it's all got my hand on it somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And it's a beautiful, beautiful cover. I mean, definitely
Thank
gets your
you.
attention. Yeah, for sure. So let's hear all about it then. Dark Oz.
Okay,
I
well,
imagine dark. Actually, I started it, so I know it is.
yeah, well, the first chapter, well, I'm one of those books that has like a 2-page trigger warning page that ends with your mental health matters. I
Mm.
also have a page in here full of hotline numbers. Specifically, the first one that's on here talks about the human trafficking hotline, because the main character and several other characters that are in this book have all been trafficked. And while I recognize the fact that my book is a work of fiction, you know, trafficking is not. And
Yeah,
so I
exactly.
wanted to
Yeah.
be able to, I don't know, make things available so that if people were triggered while they were reading, they could have the resources on hand right there if they just needed somebody to talk to. So I put those numbers in the
Oh,
book. And that's not like, I didn't come up with that idea on my own. I did see Scarlett St. Clair did it in Mountains Made of Glass. And I was like, I just think that that's such a wonderful thing to do in a dark book. And so
yeah.
from now on, I'll be doing it in all my books from now on. But
That's so cool. That's so cool. Very
so
thoughtful. too.
The story starts with Thea. She's my Dorothy character, and it's right after she's been sold to Easton Witcher. So the whole Dark Oz universe, it's a contemporary dark romance. So I've taken all the magic and all that side of Oz out of my storyline, and instead I've kept the original big plot arcs and some of the notes from each of the characters. And then one of my favorite things is to just throw little Easter eggs into the book, so that like if you're a fan of the movie or the original L. Frank Baum books, you should hopefully pick up on some of the things that I put in there. But then at the same time, if you weren't a fan of the originals or you never read or watched or whatever, like it has its own core story and elements to it that you don't need to have that to be able to appreciate it.
Right.
So the story starts with after she's been sold to Easton Witcher, and then she needs to rely on the 3 smugglers who run yellow brick taxi cabs to help get her after she kills Easton Witcher, which I feel like is not that much of a spoiler since everybody knows when Dorothy arrives in Oz, she kills the Witch of the East. So obviously that's at the beginning. So after she kills Easton Witcher, she needs to find her way to get to the wizard so that the wizard can give her a new identity and kind of get her out of Oz. And so she kind of falls into the hands of Yellow Brick Taxi Cabs. It's a group of smugglers who use their taxi cab cover to run things through the 4 quadrants of Oz. So she basically ends up being their next job, where they have to get her to the wizard. And then that's the original storyline too. She's got to get to the wizard to hopefully get home. Wizard. And so that's like the whole plot of the first book is getting to the wizard.
That's awesome. And you've had a lot of love for it so far, right? Like just yesterday, I was telling someone you were on here and they're like, oh, I love Dark Oz. I was like, oh, that's cool. It's cool to hear that.
Yeah, it's had a really good reception since it's come out. The second book published in February, and then the third book, which is the final of the Oz books, is going to be publishing at the end of May. And I like the people as after the last book I think was the one that really, really hooked everybody pretty hard. Thanks, Tabitha. I really appreciate you reading. So the last book is very roller coastery, and I do a lot of making you run the full range of emotions. Sometimes even within like a single chapter, I'll get you laughing and then screaming. And I'm actually rebranding myself. I'm putting Damn It Geneva on everything now.
I love it.
Because I polled my readers and I said, so when you were done reading The Witch is Dead, what was the thing you said the most? We had this one, and then we had the no and the what the F. We had all of those in there, but the Damn It Geneva was the one that won the most. And because becoming an author was me entering my villain era, I take a lot of pride in
villain era. I'm so impressed by all the swag the authors come up with. I think it's just so cool. Like I'm starting to write my own book, and I haven't even thought about I'd just be happy to publish. I've been you're on here with I've got this and I've got this and another book box with this, and then
it helps. It helps with the fact that I'm currently sitting in my stationery that I made for filling all of my boxes and orders and things. So I can literally just be like, here, I have all of my bookmarks, and here's my stickers and my pins. They're like literally all within arm's reach right now.
That's so cool. So how did you start writing?
So for one, I've been a pretty avid reader forever. And then over quarantine, my best friend and we decided we were going to bubble together. And she has a son who's the same age as my son, and they're only children. And, I don't have other family that's nearby. And we just didn't want during quarantine, our little, at the time, they were only 3, to not have any other kid interaction. So we're like, well, we'll just bubble together. And every day I went over to her house, and then sometimes our husbands would get together, and then they decided that we were going to play D&D. and
Okay.
this was like just a thing. And they're like, well, we're going to do D&D. And I was like, okay, that's great. Good. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm a very busy person. I'm not going to play. And he's like, no, you don't understand. We need you to play because you can't play D&D with just two people.
Right.
So he was like, it's not a big deal. Just make a character. And then I made the character. I was like, okay. So I made this draconic sorceress, and which is like a sorceress who gets her magic from being dragonborn or being descended from
Okay.
dragons. And then and he's like, okay, well, you need to make a backstory. And then I just started making this backstory that just kept going and going and going. And then I just started saying, I was like, she's just so cool. All I want to do is read her story. And like, she seems like a cool character that would be in one of these books. And I used to read a ton of fantasy, a lot of YA mostly, actually. I have a friend who bridged my way into the world of romance, and then it was like I never went back. And she finds it hilarious that now I'm writing a dark Y choose. Like she's like, it's amazing how far off that deep end you ended.
I know,
But
it's crazy.
so my D&D character ended up being my main character of this book. And so this is Illyria and the main character. They are Yep. So they're descended from dragons, and so this was what.
We're just like talking over each other. I was gonna say, tell us about the book that belongs in the genre of the other group, the fantasy group, and you just like you did it for me. So I was like, yay, that's awesome.
You lagged for a second there, and I think I was talking over it.
Oh, right. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. So carry on.
So anyway, so Sun Serpent is about this fire dancing, knife wielding acrobat. She uses the circus troupe that she's in to disguise the fact that she has fire magic, which is an incredibly rare attunement. And as far as she knows, she's the only person who has this attunement in all of Venterra. And so it's about her, and then it's about the Lying Prince who kind of comes into her life, who offers her vengeance. And he needs her to come back to his country because with her fire magic, hopefully they're going to be able to vanquish the evil Lord Malvat, who is controlling the people of his kingdom with this kind of shadow mind control curse. And so that's these. And these books, I have 2 books in this series out right now. The 3rd book in this series is coming out this fall. And this series is going to be long going. This is a long-term committed relationship.
That's good. That's awesome.
And truly the love of my life. I'm actually kind of dying to get back into writing in the fantasy world, because I've been doing all the Dark Oz stuff. So I've been really heavy into the contemporary and mafia and all of that. And I was like, I miss the magic. Which when I started Dark Oz, I was like, yes, guns.
Yeah, for sure.
But
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thanks.
Well, I just was so excited, like I said, to finally get you on here and to meet you and see you, because you've been so present in the groups and doing the Love 100. That's been awesome. And like, I'm so excited you're doing this. Thank you, ma'am. I mean, whoever wins that is going to make out really well, because like, that sounds like so awesome.
I'll put more goodies probably than we're even featured in there. Giving's my love language, so don't be surprised if you open it up and you're like, what is all of this?
Well, so for you guys watching, in order to get the thank you, ma'am, we look at just who's active in the group, who kind of stands out in the group. So this is the FanGrrrl Romance Rex After Dark contemporary romance group. And you know, we go through all that, and then we decide, yay, they're the winner, and we put it in the newsletter. So if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, check it out, because she'll be on the front page of the newsletter with her book and all the stuff that she's giving out. We're gonna put the little photos around it and stuff.
And it's a great newsletter. You have so much information in those newsletters,
like just so much
book reviews and all kinds of stuff.
Oh my God.
Like they're a great newsletter. I look forward to it every time when they come out.
Oh, thanks. A huge team of people puts it together. And this month, Tabitha Salinas, she actually is a huge fan of yours.
She's in here. She's in here chatting. She's mentioned.
Oh, she is. Yeah. Okay. So she raised her hand and volunteered, because I'm like, I need help. So she's getting all the initial information together for it right now, and then it goes to the next person. So it's like this whole like, it's a lot to put a newsletter together, man. It's great. It's beautiful. I love it. It's a process. So yeah, you'll be on the front. So that's really exciting. So yay. All right. Okay. So if you guys are here watching Geneva, stick around, because we're going to bring her back on the author panel. And thanks again for coming on. It's been just awesome, like really awesome. I love your
Thanks,
hair. I love the
Amy. I
purple.
see your comment. Thanks. I'll see you guys in a little bit.
All right, see you in a little bit. Okay. Man, I want to do purple so bad on my hair. I can't really for work because I travel a lot. I go to different like corporations and I facilitate. Anyways, you don't want to hear about me, but anyways, like, I can't really do it. I can't really get away with it. But one of these days, I'm gonna do purple hair. Okay, sorry, May, she's such a sweetheart. She's sitting there just watching it all, just waiting to come on. And it's early for her too, by the way, you guys. Here she is. Okay, I'm bringing her on, and you're gonna love the
Hi.
Hi.
Good. How are you? I was about to say good morning. I'm like, it's not morning for you.
It's not morning for me, but it is for you. Tell us where you are right now.
So I'm in Melbourne, Australia, and yeah, it's not too early now. It's almost 8 o'clock, but
Oh
8
my
a.m. But
gosh.
yeah.
We could just, I think anyone watching, well, we could just listen forever. We'll just listen to you forever.
Let's just have a chat.
Let's just say my name.
Just like record my voice note for me.
Yeah,
Your morning alarms. Time to get up.
I know. My husband's English, and like I still to this day will be out at a restaurant, and the waitress will be like, "Oh, can you say my name?" And I'm just like.
Don't you dare. That's only for me.
Anyway, so love your accent in Australia.
Thank
oh my gosh.
you.
I've been there once. I went there when I was in college. I spent a summer in Australia, actually.
Oh, whereabouts?
Brisbane, Queensland.
Oh, Brisbane.
And
yeah, it's beautiful.
I met Steve Irwin.
Did you?
So,
How exciting.
I did.
That's amazing.
I know. I went to the Queensland Zoo, and he was filming a segment for koalas, and I was watching, and his wife, they were all doing it, and I was just hanging out, and he was like, and I can't do this, I'm gonna bosh the accent, but like there's a koala like up in the tree, like chewing a leaf, right, and he's like, right, see what this koala is doing, and like it like zooms in on him, and the poor little thing is just like. I mean, it was like stoned off its mind,
I know they are. They give you nothing, but they're so cute.
And they're heavy, right? Like they're heavy.
Very heavy.
I held one.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, they're like what, 30 pounds or something? I mean, they're heavy.
Yeah, it's like dead weight. Yeah.
Yeah, like solid.
They just want to eat their eucalyptus. That's it, and sleep.
They just yeah, but they're so cute. Sorry, I had to go. Australia. We had to talk about koalas.
Gotta do it. Yeah.
But let's talk about you and your books and what you write.
Yeah, so I write contemporary, but I also do write fantasy. I choose for both. So
Yes.
I do have the Bernhardt, which I'm talking about today, and that is my standalone contemporary mafia Waichus, and that came out just end of last year. And it's been amazing. It's a very angsty second chance Waichus, and it's just been a real fun experience because I started off writing fantasy paranormal, and then I jumped into contemporary with this one. So it's been a whole different genre, a whole different world, and I'm just loving it.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you're going to have to talk to us a little bit about your fantasy when you're on here too, just like the other ones did. I didn't know all three of you have written some kind of fantasy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And I wish that I could just stick to one thing, but my brain just goes all over it. It's like, you got to do this. I actually wrote the Burnt Heart when I was writing these two up here, my triads duet, and I was writing them both at the same time, and I'm saying to myself, why are you doing this to yourself? Because you're swapping from two very different genres. But that's just how I write.
Since we read different genres, right? I mean, it's the same for authors sometimes.
Exactly.
It's just refreshing to do something different. And like earlier when Anne was talking about like how she was trying to write this, but she's being called to this, it's like I think we just have to follow the momentum. Like whether you're a reader, whatever you're reading or what you're writing, just follow whatever you're in the mood for, because you're going to do that much better at it,
Exactly.
So.
And I mean, you're writing your own book as well. And so I know you understand. You just have this idea in your head, and it's just like calling out to be told. So you have no choice.
It's crazy. And like, you're pretty much obsessed thinking about it all the time. Like I didn't expect that aspect where like you're constantly thinking about it, and the characters really do speak to you, which is really weird. Because I've heard people say that, and I'm like, okay, that's
It's hard to
awesome for
understand
you.
until you've got one
Yeah,
yeah, in your ear. Yes,
but they really do, and you get so like invested in them and attached to them.
absolutely.
It's like
Yeah,
they're real
they're your
people.
little babies. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Well, tell us about Burnt Heart and what it's about,
So,
like a little bit more.
yeah, the Burnt Heart. It follows Adelaide Orazio, and she is the heir to a crime family, and she has her. It, it's one of those books where I think I say in the content warnings that it's not going to be a feel good book right off the bat. It's
Right.
straight away the very first chapter. There's the betrayal. So
Hmm.
she has 3 boyfriends who she's been with. There's Jesse, Logan, and Briar, and she's been with them for 5 years. And
Right.
she thinks they're going to propose, and she sits down, she's ready, and they say, "We want to break up." And that's in the first chapter. And so it's you find out that they don't actually want to. They've
Right.
been kind of embroiled in that's their only choice. They love her more than anything, but in order to be with her, they have to make this, decision, and then it all just falls apart because it doesn't work out. And she's
Right.
the kind of character who, like my favorite trope is groveling. And so she,
Yes. Someone wrote there. I heard the grovel is fantastic.
yes,
One of the comments just wrote that.
so, yeah, she makes them grovel for about 80% of the book. And it's just like a really angsty emotional journey. And there's danger because she's being targeted and she has to kind of work with her exes again. And they're trying to win her back. And she's saying, absolutely not. And so it's just
Mhm.
it's really a huge emotional journey to kind of like uncover all their secrets and earn the forgiveness back
Yeah. So I actually
without giving
started
too
reading
much
it.
away.
No. You that was perfect. I actually started reading it. Like I tried to start reading everybody's books today. It's just I can't read,
Yeah.
3 books
No,
in
it's
a
too hard.
very. It's hard with everything with the FFB and all that. I'm like, I'm trying, but
Oh no.
yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, but anyway, so I started reading it, and I do think that there are breadcrumbs there, like where really early on that they obviously she knows too, I think. Like because she said some things early on that's like, this isn't right. There's something going on here. Like, this doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. They're just breaking up with me when I thought they
Yeah.
were going to like ask me to marry them.
Yeah.
So,
So
um,
she doesn't believe them for a second because one
yeah,
of the characters, he insults her, really like not very nice things to her. And instead of being offended, she's just like, you would never say that to me. I don't believe
yeah,
there is a world that you would say that to me. Something else is going on. And so she's
yeah,
not angry really because they've done that. She's angry because they lied to her and they didn't find a way to involve her in the problems that they had
right.
to try and come to
And
a
the
solution
plan,
together.
right?
Yeah. And she's
Yeah,
saying you didn't trust me, and you just thought this, like, your plan was a silly idea from the start and it didn't work, and I'm not having it. So
yeah.
she doesn't.
Yeah. So when I just had started reading it, like I said, and I didn't get far, obviously, because there's just not time. But
Mhm.
so is the world, is it known? And I figured I would learn this as I went on. Is it like known that reverse harems are like the norm? So this obviously isn't an Omegaverse. It's not.
No, and they're not the norm.
They're
And
not.
it
Okay.
No, and it does get addressed because that's part of the reason why they struggle so much, because her guys are from kind of the wrong side of the track. They didn't have a great upbringing. They don't have the opportunities. And she's up here. She's had every single thing she's ever wanted. She's wealthy. And so they get judged and attacked, and a lot of behind the scenes things happening to them to try and break them up because her family doesn't approve of
Right.
the relationship. Yeah.
Right. And of course, I immediately got hooked in the very first chapter when she's supposed to marry some guy who calls her a butterball, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and then
And
she's
he
running away
actually
because she's
comes back.
humiliated. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
and
go
that's
ahead.
where she meets her guys. But
Let's
he
introduce your
actually
guys.
comes back and they strike up a bargain, and she kind of fake dates him to make them jealous. And so he does come back again.
In the picture, yeah. Well, he's a jerk, right? Like obviously.
He
But
is, yeah.
But will he have a spinoff? Because I see a lot of times
Yeah.
in contemporary romance they get spinoffs. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm writing. I'm currently writing it now. There is it's a standalone, but there's threads of the story with her best friend, and so it's her best friend and a few of the other guys, and they don't get along at all, and there's a lot of conflict there, and so that'll be coming soon, hopefully.
Okay,
End of
cool.
this year, middle of this year. So I'm working on
That's
that one.
exciting. So
Yeah.
so share your book again because someone's asking the title. They didn't see it. And when we do the panel, we'll get everyone to show their books
Yeah,
again.
The Burnt Heart.
Yeah, so they can go grab it. And it's KU, right? It's off KU.
It is in KU.
Yeah,
It is in KU. I love KU. And I have a book coming out in April, April 11th, and that tells the story of her grandparents. So that's called Poison Heart. And I don't have a physical copy of it yet. It's in the mail, but that's coming soon.
So what made you start writing not just contemporary romance, but and I know you said you've got the other genre too, but like why choose? What made you start writing Why Choose?
I think every author can probably say the same. They've always been a reader. They've always sort of been a writer as well, and I read a lot of angsty romance. It sounds funny to say, but it is my comfort read. I really enjoy it. All my favorite books have made me cry. And so I don't know. I just had this idea pop into my head of this really gut-wrenching emotional moment. And I was like, I'll just sit and try. I'll just, it wouldn't get out of my head. And so I just, and it was like the words just flew out like a river, and I haven't looked back. And the ideas just keep coming, and the angsty moments just keep coming and falling in my lap. And I'm like, okay, we're doing this. We're
doing this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you find it difficult to, and I haven't read far enough to find out myself, but like, do you find it difficult to make sure that the different characters, the men, are unique from one another? Do you find that difficult, or is that easy for you to make sure that they're all separate personalities? What do you think about that?
I don't find it difficult so much as sometimes I think it's hard as an author. You've got so much up here that sometimes a reader doesn't have that. And so you're thinking in your mind, like, of course they would never do that. But a reader is only reading from what you've written. So I think it's hard. You're trying to translate what you have up here onto a page, and like that's huge. So I don't find it hard, and I love Why Choose for that aspect. You don't have to choose. You can have the broody guy, you can have the sensitive guy, you can have the whole range.
Yeah, I really think Why Choose is kind of, and this is probably a good panel thing to talk about, so I'll nip it quickly. But I really think Why Choose is like it's kind of becoming a thing. Like it's really getting a lot of visibility in the book world. And I didn't actually like Why Choose years ago, and it took Raven Kennedy reading Cupidity from Raven Kennedy that really kind of opened my mind. I just was reading the wrong Why Chooses for me back then. But now it's just they're so good. I mean, most times now I'll pick up an MF and it's like, and they'll introduce another male character, and I'm like, why can't it be a Why Choose? I want it to be a Why Choose.
Sometimes you like one more than the other, and you have options. So it's definitely getting more popular. I love to see it. I love to see it.
I still love traditional MFs too. I just love all books. I really do. As long as they have romance in them, I'm in.
That's my only thing. And a happy ever after.
Yes. Eventually an HEA. I'm okay with it, happily after for now. But eventually an HEA. So okay, well, so tell us a little bit about your other series, the fantasy one. Would you call it fantasy?
I would call it kind of paranormal, maybe. So the first book is Triad's Curse.
Right.
And it follows she's a human girl named Cami, and she gets pulled in. Her family is in really dire financial straits, and she gets pulled in for a medical trial, but she has to sign all these documents basically saying we're going to pick you up from your life, we're going to take you here, and that's it, but we will give your family all the money you need. And she feels she doesn't have a choice, so she does that. But what she doesn't realize is that she's not just being picked up from somewhere on Earth, taken to a different place, she's been taken to another world.
Oh, wow. Right. Yeah.
So she is taken to another kind of a plane, and they're like demon-like creatures called Legion.
Okay.
And
yeah.
they need her blood, because they have like a certain type of arrangement in there where Waichus is the norm. You would normally have a certain amount of Legion and a central person, which is called a boost, and she would power them with their blood. And so she gets there, but the Legion that she's meant to be supporting were not told that that's what is happening. And one is really happy to see her, one is ambivalent, and one is really, really not happy. And so the end of this book is like a brutal cliffhanger and a brutal betrayal. And then the second book there's obviously a lot more, but lots of groveling and angst and action and
I
everything.
love angst, love groveling. That sounds great.
yeah.
I
So
love drama.
very,
I
very
love
different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
that's
I
cool.
love
That sounds really
emotions.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's good. It gets you, invested. So, well, that's awesome. Okay. How about
Absolutely.
any upcoming releases you want to talk about before we start the panel?
Yeah, I've got Poison Heart, as I said, coming out April
Right.
11th, and I can't wait for that. That's very similar. It's going to start off straight away with that betrayal and lots of angst, and it has my main female main character, Anita, is one of my favorite I've written of all time. She has no conscience, and she has a secret. She's basically pretending to be a nice, sweet little housewife, but she is actually pretending because it's a cover for her. She's like an assassin. She grows all her own plants and makes poisons. And when she finds out that her husband has married her not for love, for other reasons, she goes very scorched earth. And I can't wait. I can't wait for it to be out in the world.
Awesome. Well, cool. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been so much fun.
Thanks
to
for
talk
having
to
me.
you. Yeah, for sure. And okay, so I'm gonna pull you off for a second and talk for a minute, and then I'm gonna pull you guys all back on for the panel. So
That's good.
So thank you. Oh my gosh, I could just listen to the accident. Oh my gosh, the accent all day long. It's so awesome. I just want to tell you guys real quick before I pull everyone on for a panel. I'm trying to do lives every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and there'll be a mixture of the spotlights with the authors. There'll be a featured author at times on Wednesday, so 4 o'clock Eastern. This Wednesday at 4 is Hannah Hayes, and I'm doing a panel with her. And then we'll have the monthly lives too. So I'm trying to standardize it. So every Wednesday at 4 p.m., one of these lives will happen. So tune in to one of the platforms if you guys are interested in seeing that. Okay, now that I've said that, because I didn't want to say that when all the authors are on, because this is about them. Let's bring them back on and kind of have a wrap up panel. So, okay, here we go. So here comes Anne. Here comes May. And here comes Geneva.
Hey.
Yay! Oh my goodness. So this has been fun, right? To
Super
talk
fun.
about the
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So I was trying to think of things to talk about in the panel. And Geneva, when you were showing all of your artwork, it made me think of that super trigger thing going on, which I usually don't talk about, but I'm going to do it. AI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So is there anything you guys want to communicate to the readers about AI so that they are aware? Or should we just not even open up that can of worms and just move on?
Look, I've got my beautiful character art up here. I support human artists, and I think it's really, I work so hard. I know how hard I work on my craft, and people who have the skill to draw, I'm just 1000% in awe, and I will support them any way I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I have 2 art degrees, so I'm probably super biased on the scale of where I'm very I have very strong feelings about AI. I have
it's
friends
probably not the
who
best thing for me to talk about, to be honest, but I
anyway.
struggle with it myself. But go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll
But
talk about it.
I want to say, like, I've hired also like 3 or 4 different artists to do character art and scene art for me, and I'm really proud that I've been able to do that and work and collaborate with these other artists to help bring my vision, to visual life. And I think that that's something that authors should continue to do. I think a lot of the time people who are capitalizing on AI, it's because of convenience and because of the fact that being an independent author is very expensive. And it's a very convenient, easy way to be able to get this thing that you really want. And I personally think that you get more specialized touches and attention from something that's been made by an artist than you would ever get from a computer. And then you can very proudly be able to display your work without having to worry about any repercussions that come from the ethical arguments against AI. And so personally, I think everybody should be out there paying for artists to do stuff.
Yeah.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think as far as
Yeah.
like, if I would say anything to readers, it's that, the characters that you see these AI artists do, and I think sometimes it can be really deceiving for the reader. They're looking, they see this character like, oh, this is the character from my favorite book. This looks amazing. And you have to understand that what you're looking at isn't a representation of what like the author is actually writing. Like this is a computer generated, and it's not even computer generated to the point of like where they're creating it themselves. It's pulling in other things, and it's going to be so
Other people.
difficult. Yeah, and it's going to be so difficult for an actual artist to recreate it in that way. And I think that sometimes readers look at that and expect that that's how it's supposed to be now, and they don't really see like the human aspect of it and the human creating the art. And I think that there just needs to be more awareness as far as readers go, because we've seen the drama, from other boxes and from other, books and things, and I just feel so terrible for these artists who work so hard to bring these characters to life just to be stomped by something like AI. Like it's totally unfair.
Yeah. I get asked all the time. This is one of the reasons why I brought this up is I get asked all the time if I'm going to allow it in the groups. And the thing is I can't tell, like sometimes you look at something and you think that you can tell, but how do I know, and
It is definitely the tech is definitely
you know,
getting better. It used to be super obvious. There was a specific
Yeah.
texture and the
like,
faces were
10
always a little
fingers
wonky.
or yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, so like we had one post in the group where someone thought the cover was AI and went kind of mental on it. And we ended up having to remove the comments because I have no proof that it's AI. And what happens if it's not AI and we
Yeah, I've
remove
had
the
artist friends
post,
who've been jumped
you
on by
know?
people assuming that what they've made was done by AI, and they're like, no, 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 I did this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
it's
can't help it.
hard.
I
hard.
put a polish on my stuff that makes it look like it's AI. Like AI is mimicking
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Doesn't Amazon ask you when you upload if there's any AI
Mhm.
involved now?
Yep.
Okay.
They
Is
do.
that supposed not just the artwork, but also for actually the writing?
Hmm.
What's the deal with
Yes.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know it's just
Yeah.
a box you check. I don't know that at this moment anything's actually happening with that. I think it's just
Yeah.
something you check when you're uploading.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
it's so hard to
All
even
right.
tell.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I don't know. So I really don't have a rule about it right now because there's just not. You just how do you know? And then and I don't want to hurt an author. I don't want to take their post away. That's someone saying they love their book and it
Yeah.
end up not being. I mean, that's a huge can of worms. I don't want to open up. The author
Yeah.
messaging me, my post was removed, and it's not. Oh
Especially
my
because I think a lot of the time
God.
people that are putting it up there are just putting it up there because it's fun, like it's fun to play
Yeah,
with these things and make them
yeah,
happen. And there's the thrill of being able, especially if you aren't artistically inclined, you
yeah,
want to be able to make these things, and then the computer gives you the tools to be able to do it. I just don't think that AI is there ethically yet. I think eventually it'll get regulated the way it needs to be. but
Mm.
I just don't think we're there yet.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So how about, so you're all KU authors, right? Right?
Mhm.
I'm trying
Mhm.
to, yeah. Okay. And you all, so why did you choose KU?
Uh, well, for me, it was just easy. It was, familiar. I read the majority of my books in KU. I went wide for a little bit just to kind of test it and see how it did. And I had great success with it. But what brought me back to KU was when there was, you know, there's always controversy over Amazon and royalties and payments and stuff. And a lot of authors were leaving at the time. And I just remember I'm a military spouse. And I remember not having funds for books, not having funds to do anything, not having anything. And, Kindle came out with Kindle Unlimited. And it was like suddenly I had access to really stuff that probably saved my sanity, saved my mental health, saved everything just because I had access to KU.
Right.
And so that was my decision to actually go back to Kindle Unlimited, was because of that, because I just thought there so many people who are just like me, who rely on something that's, inexpensive for them and gives them access to books like that. And I know they have other things now, like with Libby and with, libraries and
Hoopla.
stuff. And that's, yeah,
Mhm.
Hoopla, that they're coming out. And maybe at some point I'll go back to going wide again and testing that and seeing. But that was really it for me. It was really personal. And I just wanted my books to be accessible to as many people as possible in that way.
Yeah, I've heard
Yeah.
that from a
Love
couple of
that.
authors where they that for them it was just it's about getting the story out, and KU is a great platform for that.
Yeah.
And I think honestly, I think it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing, KU. I think, I mean, it's already big now. I mean, with the big group that I run with 46,000 members, a lot of them are KU. And then I'll get people join the group and they'll say they're not KU. They'll say, "What's KU?" And then they'll see like recommendations that are all KU, and then they'll go get on KU because like so many people are recommending
It's
KU
true.
books. I read traditional authors too, but I read a lot of KU books. I mean, it's just,
Mhm.
there's just an ease to it. You know, you can just
I
download it.
know just from experience as a reader before I even started writing, that when I would go to conventions and stuff, I would pick up the materials from all the authors, but honestly, the only people I ever actually pursued reading were the ones that were on KU, because this was a subscription I already had. It was no
Yeah,
additional
you can
cost to
rationalize.
me
Yeah,
out of it. And it's easier to take a chance on somebody you don't know when there's no out of, I mean, I know you pay for the
Right.
subscription, but there's no like in the moment out of pocket cost
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
giving a try. And
Yeah.
if I read a couple pages and I decide I don't like it, then no
just find something
harm, no
else.
foul,
Yeah, it's easy.
um, and
Yeah.
now I'm like, I just buy everybody's books. It's a legitimate problem. I also
So
tell myself I bought Kindle Unlimited subscription to save myself money, but then I immediately go buy the actual book for my shelves afterwards. So I'm
I'm so
really
glad
just
I'm not the only
still
one.
spending money.
I was about to ask you, May, about you with KU, and then on top of that, like someone talked about that last week. Like, if you really love an author, it does help if you go and buy
It does.
their ebook. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
and
even their
I
paperback
know. Yeah, I
or
mean, obviously, I'm an
pre-order.
avid reader as well, and I have KU, and I love it because if I was buying the amount of books that I read, I would not even have a house to live in because it's just too expensive. And so I go and buy the book copies of the ones that I absolutely love. I don't have room for it, but it is what it is. And I just love that for readers to be able to find new authors that they maybe would not have picked up if it wasn't in KU because of a cost issue.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I've had so many people who have found me that way, and I just think it's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
KU definitely increased my impulse buy trigger for like, oh, that book looks good. I'm like, oh, KU, download, read.
Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
really
Some of
have
my
a fun
favorite
time.
authors. I
Some
was
of
gonna
your
say some of
favorite
my
authors are
favorite
KU?
authors.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too.
and I discovered them because of
Absolutely.
KU. And I would
It's
read
true.
one, and then I would get recommended another book by another author, and I would read that. And I genuinely, yeah, like I said, it definitely saved like sanity, mental health, KU, all the way, 100%.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
think, as a reader, I find that, like, I read traditional, I also read KU, right? But as a reader, I find that that the author has a lot more say with KU. Like with the, you don't have a traditional published author telling them how to change certain things or edit certain things. A lot of times I feel like, how do I say this? Like the author can just do exactly what they want to do and take it
Well,
exactly like
that's
you
really
with
just the
Dark
privilege
Oz,
of
you know?
independently publishing.
Yeah.
You know, when
Yeah,
you're
like you can
independently
just,
publishing, you get that freedom that you might
Yeah.
not get when you're giving some of your like creative license to another company to help produce that.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Like
Agreed.
you can kind of go crazy on your triggers, right, Geneva, with your Dark Oz, right? Like you just put your trigger warnings in, you have your
Sky's the
trafficking going
limit.
on, whatever. But if you were traditional published, do you think you would be get away with as much as that you did in your book? Do you think?
I I
I
don't
don't
I
know.
don't
It's just a good
know.
question.
I
It's a good
honestly
question.
I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I just say I think I can kind of sense that sometimes when I pick up so many different books by different and the writing is just as good, like the KU writing just as good, It's just interesting. It's interesting,
I
I
mean,
think. So
there are traditionally published books in Kindle Unlimited also. Kindle Unlimited is not entirely just independent authors. It's just Kindle Unlimited is a great way for independently published authors to be able to get their material out to a wider audience
right, that's
than
a good clarification.
I'm sorry, not wider, but like to a bigger audience. Publishing
Right.
wide, you can still reach a lot of people, but I think it requires more work on the author's part to be able to get that out there. And I've never gone wide. So Anne, maybe this is a better one for you to comment on, but
Yeah. I mean,
that was why I decided to go KU.
yeah. I mean, KU is, as far as like ease of use for an author, it is very easy to just, upload and get everything out there and stuff. And there are more steps to do with Wide. But there are programs now that have made it, a lot easier for anybody that is looking to do and publish Wide to do it. Oh my gosh, why am I? Draft to Digital is one where you can submit through them and they can, do other stuff. Ingram, like there's ways to do it. There are more steps though involved. KU is just one click and done. So that does make it easy.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. That's a good point, Geneva. That's a good clarification that it's not just, straight self-published. There are publishing companies that publish books through KU. Yeah, that is true. That is very true. That's good. Thanks for calling that
Well, like
out.
another thing that because you mentioned earlier too about the reading with the page reads and supporting authors through KU that
Yes.
way, and
Yeah.
then also buying the ebook. This is something
Right.
that I did not realize as a reader who for years had Kindle Unlimited until I was a published author, is that authors will only be paid for reading a page one time. So if I
Right.
read the
That's
book and I
right.
really love it, and then I go back and I read it again, or I really love one chapter and I read it 6 or 7 times, because I'm obsessive, then the author's only being paid for that read the first time I did it. So if you
Right.
really do
Yeah.
love something, you want to support the author and you see yourself reading it more than once, a truly awesome thing to do for them would be to buy the ebook also instead of continuing to read it in Kindle Unlimited. But
Yeah.
that's also not feasible for
Because it's
everybody. But
because a lot of people don't realize it's what, like a half a penny a page,
it's
isn't it? Like a half a
it's much
cent a
less than
page.
that.
Isn't
Much
it like
less.
point
Yeah.
0.4 or is it 0.37 cents per
I think it
page?
went
I don't
down.
know.
It
It went down
changes.
last month. I want to say it's like,
Yeah.
it's less than 3 now. Yeah.
Yeah. And it might not get better, right? Because don't they decide the amount based off of a pool? Like Amazon has a certain amount of money that they give to KU from what I've read on it. And
And then
then
a
they
wizard comes
distribute
in and they go like this with a wand and they say,
Yeah.
that's the rate for this month.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think anybody really understands how they do it. I don't think Amazon really even understands how they do it because it's
No, they
just,
have a
yeah,
wizard.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
wizard.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
It's a
producing
crazy wizard.
audiobooks right now. And the Audible like scenario for that makes even less sense than the Kindle Unlimited one did. And I'm just like, I don't understand what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
someone's asking, is it better to buy the hard copy or ebook?
I think
mean, it's
both.
hard.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah, whatever method
I-
you prefer reading in would be the
Yeah.
one to buy. I mean, if you're asking which way does an author make the most money, that's really going to depend on the author and what they've put in, because the cost changes depending on things like for me, my ebooks, I don't quite make the same amount. It's almost the same for an ebook versus like a paperback, because I'm making almost the same amount. But part of that is because I have all those photos, and I refuse to put in something that it does not have good resolution. So I've got all, like, every chapter's got a full 2-page spread, and I've got fantasy maps and lots of stuff. I like pretty books. But, like, those things make the file size larger, and the larger the file size, the more Amazon charges you to send that file to readers. So, but that's not going to be the case for everybody. So it's not really a uniform kind of thing.
Right. Yeah. So just one question about the KU page reads. So when I first started researching this, I had read, and I think this is wrong, I had read that it's the first time that you download it. An author somewhere told me that. So it's like the first time you download the book, you get paid per page of what you've read. But if you return the book on the second re-checkout, you wouldn't get paid. And I did more research on that, and I heard from everybody, well, it's a little bit of a mystery how it's done, but that's not true. So it's like the first time you read the page, it doesn't matter on the checkout. Do you guys have any information on that or knowledge on that?
That's what I knew, but
it's a mystery. It's a bit of a mystery.
It really is. Yeah, I was always told that it's, you read that one time, that's it. Like, you don't get paid for any other, whether you return it or re-download it again. It's just the first time.
One time per page.
Now, I will say that every time somebody downloads a book and adds it to their library in Kindle Unlimited, to Amazon's algorithm, that counts as a sale. So as far as bestseller ranking, adding something, whether you read it or not, to your Kindle library does still help the author.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So especially on a book's release, if you really want to help a book like have big first day release numbers and stuff like that, even if you don't plan on reading that day, you're like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to read till next week, like, still downloading it and adding it to your library on that day can really help rankings, which help the trajectory on Amazon of how well the book does, because then it pushes that book out to more people with the higher and better it's doing. So definitely helpful doing that.
So download it on release day is a to help your favorite author.
Even if you can't read it right then. Yeah.
Yep.
And then what about ARCs? Do each of you do ARCs? Do you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, you all have ARC readers, and how does that help?
Salacious plug. My ARC application for the third Dark Oz book is currently open on my website. I do e-ARCs. Some people, like the traditional publishing companies out there, they do print for ARCs. Indie authors, most of the people I know can't afford to do print as an advanced reader copies, but I do send out.
It's very limited.
I try to send out as many of the digital ARCs as I can.
Yeah. And but how does someone reading an ARC and rating it before it actually? So you said download, right? Download on the release day. How about if they download before the release? No, they can't, because it's an ARC. It's sent through.
It's an ARC. It doesn't count.
Right.
But
but
the
reviews
help.
Can. Yeah. So they can rate it, and then coming out of the gate with rankings probably helps the algorithm.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. So let's talk about ratings and the fact that like a lot of readers will rate on obviously the scale 1 to 5, and they think 3 is fine because it's average. It's like, okay, it's good. It's a 3, but Amazon doesn't see it that way, right? Goodreads, It doesn't matter. Goodreads is different, right? Amazon is not.
Amazon doesn't like 3s.
Amazon doesn't like 3s, right?
And
okay, go ahead.
Also, just like the number of people who are rating and leaving reviews helps too, because the more interaction a book has through the Amazon platform, the more Amazon's algorithm will push that out to other readers. So even if you can't leave an actual worded review, just rating with the stars when you get to the end of the reading on your e-reader, or pulling it up and putting it on there, it really does help. And also it helps give credibility for your book to other people who may have never discovered you before. Like if you pull up a book, it only has 5 ratings, you're not going to maybe take a risk on an author you don't know as much as somebody who's got 2,000 ratings. So it helps for sure.
Okay. All right. So we get a lot of questions in the ARC chat. So every Wednesday we do. I don't know if you guys are aware. Geneva, I know you are.
No, I'm like in there
May,
every that 30 minutes it comes out, and I'm like, I'm in.
yeah. So a lot of people don't realize this in the dark group because the dark group is, and by the way, it's called dark because of Steam. A lot of people think it's called dark because it's gothic romance. It's not. It's
Right.
contemporary romance that's edgy. Basically, not like Nicholas Sparks. Like this is edgy stuff. Like more kind of and so it's mafia, it's rock star, sports romance. All that jazz, right? But humans only, billionaire, whatever, right? So the big group, the urban fantasy group with the 46,000 members, we just hit 46,000, by the way. I'm going to do
It's
like a
crazy. That's
celebration.
so
I know
awesome.
it's insane, man. I just never, wow. Anyways, but every Wednesday we do a community chat for signups for ARCs. And so in the big group, it is buzzing because all these authors drop their forms in there. It's only open for 30 minutes. And then I leave it paused for 48 hours. I invite like active members. I invite conversation starters and new members. And by the time I get like delete the chat 48 hours later, there are 2,000 people on it. Like
Wow.
I get comments from authors saying, "Oh my gosh, I got 50 people sign up for my ARC. Thank you so much. That's
Hmm.
awesome."
It's
So
a
I'm
big
doing the
part of
same thing.
how I managed to get, I think, ARC readers for the Star Spear, my second fantasy book. That was when I discovered that the ARC thing was happening. And I went from, I only had about 75 people review Sun Serpent to I had 300 people review Star Spear. And a
Nice.
huge part of that was pushing it through your group. So thank you.
Oh yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's just cool to see that help. And so I have the same chat. I run them at the same time in the dark group, and not as many authors know about it because the dark group is just 5,000 members and it's a newer
Mhm.
group. It's only been around since like September, or August. So anyways, May Ann, I don't know if you know about it, but if you ever have an ARC and you want to drop it in the chat. It's on Wednesdays, and I try to do it like around lunchtime, and I usually do a notice in the group on that morning. Just because I'm trying to like let people know it's there.
Yeah, I've
So,
definitely seen it. I feel like I always miss the time, and I'm like, yes,
oh,
it's there. And then I go in, it's closed. I'm like,
Australia.
no, missed it again.
It's probably
Oh, I
like 2
know.
a.m. at your time or something
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't think about
Oh, these
that.
time
Sorry.
zones. No,
It's
don't say
yeah,
Well,
sorry. I think
I
it's
definitely
amazing.
think ARC reading is a great way for readers who want to be able to read more content. Like every author, for the most part, has an ARC reading group that they do it. Traditionally published authors have ARC people who can read too. And I think if you just reach out to your favorite authors and say, hey, I would really love to get in on your ARC team. How can I do that? I don't know a single author who's going to turn you away and
yeah,
not at
they
least say,
usually
here's where
won't.
my application is.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah.
or even just
Absolutely.
on their website, it's
Absolutely.
probably just on their website
Just a
somewhere.
link. Yep.
Mm.
Yep.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, well, cool. And then, so the big thing, I get people ask me all the time, and then we'll just wrap up after this. I think this has been lovely. It's been great, but we could probably talk forever.
Yeah.
um, Yeah, yeah. I get people ask me all the time, "Oh, I got an ARC. Does that mean I'm not really feeling the book? Does that mean I have to leave a review and a rating? Do I have to finish the book?" So what are your thoughts on that? I think
Um,
it's pretty obvious, but go ahead. I
well,
get asked all
I
the
mean,
time.
I don't know. I might be different in this. I want your opinion on the book. Like that's why I send the ARC out. Now I don't want you to review it before it's released. Please, please at least wait. If you really genuinely don't like it, or message me and let me know at least. But I do like to hear thoughts, even if they don't like it. I like that feedback. So if you don't want to leave an actual review on the book, like that's fine, but message me and let me know what it is, that you didn't like, or it's, as long as the conversation is respectful, obviously, I don't want somebody messaging me and telling me how much they hate me and what a terrible author I am. That would really suck. But I do like to
Yeah,
hear like,
yeah,
their thoughts and opinions. And I, mostly because I look at it as a way for me as a chance for me to improve. I look at that as like feedback, but, feedback that I can turn into like into a positive way.
yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. So, but you say like wait. Like I see some authors say just wait a week until after it releases
Yeah.
before you post
Yeah.
a non-favorable
just give us
review.
that buffer. Yeah, give us that buffer. Give us that time and space, that to at least have like a nice, happy serotonin filled release.
Yeah.
And before we
And
see
Amazon.
somebody say, yeah,
Yeah,
with the
they basically
algorithm
say
that
that.
first week.
yeah,
Yeah, they
Go
say
ahead,
that
May.
for the algorithm.
For the algorithm. Yeah.
yeah. It
Right.
just
I mean,
helps.
I personally, not every author's arc rule, like there's a lot of variation, I think, on the rules for arc reading. So when you do sign up, and
There
anybody
is.
out there, you definitely want to make sure you read what the expectations of the author you're reading for is. I would love a review. Obviously, that's the reason I'm sending them out, is because I would like reviews, please. But at the same time, I'm not going to police whether or not you put one up there, because I understand
Yeah.
that you might not be comfortable leaving a negative review on a public space,
Right.
or
Yep.
Life
Right.
happens and maybe you couldn't get to it like you said you
Yeah,
could,
exactly.
or there could be a dozen reasons, or maybe you signed up for it and you started reading and then you realized that there was content in the book that was triggering for you, so you couldn't finish. I don't want you to like finish reading a book that is traumatizing you as you read it, because you don't want to end up being dropped from my team or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me personally, also giving's my love language. So I'm just like, somebody's like, can I have an arc? I'm like, sure.
Yes.
Aww.
Yeah.
Aww. And how about you, May? How do you feel about it?
I feel like I'm the same. I'm a bit more loose with my arcs. Like I'll send them out, but I'm not chasing you saying how come you
Yeah.
haven't left a review or anything like that. I would never do that. And I think for readers, especially with indie authors, we are just a human, and it's so easy to reach out and communicate. A lot of authors have PAs as well, and
Yes.
so if you're not enjoying it, I would never be offended if somebody sent me a message saying, hey, I started it and it's just not for me.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I want you to enjoy reading my books. I don't want someone reading it who's like, I'm really just slogging through this, because sometimes you're not in the mood. I'm a mood reader, so I get it. Sometimes that book is just not right for me in the moment.
Well,
Yeah,
and sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
The ARC team is your last line of defense before it gets out to the whole world too. I'll never cease to be amazed by the fact that I'll have read a book 70,000 times. It'll have gone through
Right, yeah.
three or four rounds of edits, and I paid to have it proofed. And yet
And they catch
somehow
something.
they keep catching, and they keep they're like,
Yeah.
here, you missed this, and apparently, even though I have 2 college degrees, I don't know how to use a comma still. So there's that.
It reminds me, it's so true, because like with the book that I'm writing, it's not even near publishing, but like I have people reading it, and I've had like 15 people read this book. And just recently someone new read it and was like, Rebecca, did you mean to say Charlotte, North Carolina, or Charleston? I was like, oh, I meant to say Charleston. Like all these other people read it, and nobody picked up on the fact that I'm talking about the ocean, and Charlotte is nowhere near the ocean except this one person. And I'm like, oh yeah, oops a daisy, that was a typo. So it's so true, It's so true.
And I use the feedback from my ARC team to help me pick who I integrate into my beta team, because every time I go into a new book, I try to bring in at least 1 or 2 fresh eyes that haven't beta read from me before. And like how my ARC team gives me feedback usually tells me if the kind of feedback they give is what I would be looking for from a beta reader. So, like that could be, I thrive on the critique process though. So that might not be everybody.
Oh, no, that's good. This is all good feedback, and it's good for the readers to hear, because luckily you guys are accessible, and that's like readers love that about authors, the ones that they can message, they can talk to, they can see on a live. This is all really, really good stuff. We love that, and it's just so cool that you're open to hearing what they have to say, and it just says a lot about you as a person and also as an author. So anyways, so yay, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on here. Like seriously, this has been amazing. I know everyone's probably been tickled pink to like meet you and hear about your books and go try your books. So one more time, let's go through and show us your books so people can go download them on KU or not KU. And go first.
I'll go first. Okay. This is mine. That's Pretty When You Fly.
Yeah. And it's a
Yep.
second chance romance, contemporary romance.
Second chance, contemporary romance. It's got mafia themes. It's got motorcycle gangs. It's got all that stuff in it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, May, how about you? I'm just going in order of my screen right now.
Yeah, so the Burnt Heart. So it's an angsty mafia-esque second chance. Why choose?
Ooh.
Awesome. Awesome. So good. So good.
You are speaking my
All
love
right.
language right there. Okay.
Geneva.
Dark Oz. This is
Right.
a dark why choose mafia retelling of The Wizard of Oz.
Awesome. Awesome.
Love it.
Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you guys so much again for coming on. This has been awesome. I really appreciate it. So you guys go check out their
Thank you.
books.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Have
Bye.
a good one.
Bye.